always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending.
All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Reb Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 7 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, a playoff edition presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The Tim's NHL Hockey Challenge is back for the Stanley Cup Playoffs edition. Hey, only in the Tim Hortons app. You play for free with a chance to win daily prizes for picking players who you think will score. Plus, there's the grand prize, a juicy $5,000. Canadiens also try and keep your 7-day streak alive, and if you do that, you win a free coffee or tea for a week. And rare is the occasion where both Ray Ferraro and yours truly are both on location. You're covering the Stanley Cup Western Conference Final. Here I am, Ray, in beautiful Kelowna, BC, for the Memorial Cup. You know, they airlift me in. I shake some hands. I kiss some babies. I talk to dads and player agents and general managers and all that kind of stuff. And then I bugger off. So I'm here for a couple of days, and then I'll get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. But look, I always have a good time around the Memorial Cup because it's just, a celebration of an incredible year for all the teams that are here. But you've spent enough time in the Okanagan Valley to know that this is just a special place on earth. Now, it's teasing for me because, we've got the podcast, we've got stuff going on. I've got to do a segment inside the game coverage later today, so I'm making calls this morning and all that. Well, Jeff O'Neill and Frankie Corrado and Laura Dykin are golfing for like the 6th consecutive day. I don't know where they're at this morning, but they've played most of the top courses in the Kelowna area, and here I am toiling on the podcast. It's just not fair.
Well, I can assure you, O'Neill has done none of the prep work to set up those tee times. Part of the invoice that Frankie Corrado will be putting forth will be concierge, pain in the ass dealing, texting with about what time's the tee time? Can we get out first? Can we? I know he's dealing with that, so I applaud him. And Laura's probably like just keeping her head down, and she's like, perfect, another tee time, out we go. So good for her. She's, by the way, I know O was giving a shot to Jimmy, to Duthie about what a great host Laura is. I worked the World Championships and a World Junior with her. She is dialed in. She is. Yeah. And so O's only half joking because he just wanted Duthie not to be so comfortable in his shoes. The other thing is, I thought when you go back, is there any chance you're making a pit stop at the Cabbage?
It's a good call by you, but no, because the Montreal series, I actually have to get back in the studio because with the men's worlds going on and the Memorial Cup, everything going on in the hockey world, we're understaffed to a point where I've got to get back to Toronto ASAP so I can be a seat filler for the Hot Zone in covering the Eastern Conference Final the end of the week. So anyway, we'll make it. I sent you the link.
I will say, can I say one more?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say one more thing about this? A little inside of TSN or whatever. I played golf and had dinner with Sean McKenzie yesterday, which of course turned into a roasting of Bob for much of dinner. And we each were exchanging our favorite Bob on-site stories. Oh my God. You almost forget about them, don't you? I don't mean Bob. I mean the stories. And then
the stories are
one
legendary.
leads into the next.
Yeah.
Oh, when he checked that guy off the stage in Calgary, and this knucklehead tried to run and storm the stage. Yeah. Bob stepped up from the edge of the desk. Yeah. That was one of that was maybe a highlight in Canadian broadcast history. It was,
and we can't even broadcast what he said because it was appropriately foul and threatening to this man's life. So anyway, it's one of the best.
So
Bob is here,
good.
by the way. He's here in Kelowna. Of course, Mike is the general
Yes.
manager of the Kitchener Rangers, who are an absolute wagon right now. What a game that turned out to be for the Rangers over the Everett Silvertips, who are a really good team too, coming out of the Western Hockey League. But Bob is here, and Bob is Grandpa Bob. Bob is Papa Bob. He's Mike's two young children are here in Kelowna. So there's Papa Bob, man. He is like Grandpa on duty. You know that role. You do it well, right? But there's a different version.
Yep.
There's a different version.
But not like
sure
this.
You.
Not like this.
No, it was so cute because Bob did the pregame show going in, and Mike's two kids are just sitting there, and it's like, yeah, well, what's the big deal? So Grandpa's on TV. All right, whatever. Hurry up, let's go. I want some popcorn and a drink. Let's get, like they've just grown up in that world. So it was
so good,
kind of cute. One more thought, and look, I mean, fighting is it's not rare, but we don't see a ton of it in the NHL anymore. And, there's not a ton of it across the world of hockey. It hasn't been eradicated, but it's certainly been curbed, right? I think that's a fair statement. There was a tilt last night in the second period between Kitchener and Everett. And I sent you the video because I didn't know if you watched the game live or not, between Jackson Vaughn and Andrew McNeil. And Andrew McNeil from the Kitchener Rangers is a draft pick of the Montreal Canadiens, like 189th overall or something like that. Those two guys, like you would have seen this 1,000 times back in your day in the Western League, because that was just part of the dynamic. That was just an shift after shift occurrence. Right. Like these two guys were throwing haymakers, as Dustin Nielsen described. I mean, they actually changed hands once or twice. Imagine doing that. Like, as if fighting isn't hard enough, but you're going to change from left to right a couple of times, and both guys did it. So I know I'm advocating for this kind of stuff, but it was just so not shocking. But I was there with Mickey Dupont as we're watching this happen, and we're like, oh. And Josh Georges, who's a tough guy, he's part of the alumni in Kelowna as well. So we're all watching this unfold, and we're like, oh boy, that's a fight. We don't see that very often anymore.
Those guys that do it like that, they're like a special breed, man. Like that is, I forget who said it the first time. I've always remembered it. They just said that's just a punch in the face contest. And
that's all it was.
It is holy. It's almost like when you watch it now, and certainly as we've gotten older, like you watch it and you have enough of a computer bank of things that have gone wrong in those fights. Like I start watching that stuff, and what I instantly think is, I hope these guys get out of there okay, because holy, that's a world I know nothing about. I fought a dozen times, and in the dozen fights there were less punches thrown than that one fight. I mean, by both guys. It was. I mean, both of the guys in my fight and one of the guys in their fight. Like that wasn't even. That was just incredible and it's in the midst of a game that means so much. So that to me, Dregs, is a slight advocation for it. But when it's in the course of the game, that feels different to me, as opposed to, I think that led by the NHL and, through the junior leagues, they've gotten rid of a lot of the garbage stuff. But when it happens organically in the middle of a game, it's like a tea kettle, right? It lets the pressure off of all of it, and then you just get right back to it. And the tournament, I hope, is going great out there. You've said there were some really good games, and it's a beautiful venue, it's a beautiful city, and I hope it finishes up great.
All right, well, let's shift gears and head into the conference finals, and we'll do that in headlines, brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Say, real fans, you know the move. You arrive early at the Canadian Brewhouse, Monday to Saturday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Skip the couch, hit the Canadian Brewhouse, your home for every puck drop, every goal, and every cheer. Their house is your arena. Eastern Conference Final, and I don't think anybody would be surprised to see what we're seeing, and that's the Carolina Hurricanes hitting their stride and playing to their identity again. And they've done that in back-to-back games now, and they lead that series 2-1 over the Montreal Canadiens. Andrei Svechnikov, with the overtime winner, sifted one through traffic. Sebastian Aho was there. Dobush obviously didn't see it. Svechnikov gets credit for the overtime winner, and almost immediately post-game. And I have all the time in the world, Ray, for players or coaches who hold themselves and take accountability, right? And Lane Hutson was probably a bit too self-deprecating post-game, to be fair, but he turned the puck over that led to the overtime winner. He was trying to make an offensive play, obviously, on his own blue line, and it didn't go well. Carolina comes back in, and seconds later, it's the game-winning goal. Laying too hard on himself post-game and saying, well, Dobush is great, but that loss is on me. And he wasn't just talking about that play. I think there was another play that he was describing as well. But it's a little too self-critical, is it not?
Well, for me, it is. He's done it before, and I got to tell you, I've done now 3 playoff series that Lane has been involved in, and I've grown to really respect not the ability, because you could see that the first time you watch him play, you're like, oh my God, this guy's incredible, elusive, and all that. But his care of the game, his care of the team, his commitment to the game that his team is playing, like it. He has a leader personality, and he does it. It's not, some guys will do that and it's bullshit, and you can read it. It's not with Hutson. Like, he feels he could have done more to help his team win. He feels his mistake cost the game. Well, I understand the self-evaluation, but they had 13 shots again. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that play was one of the factors, and certainly it was in that goal. But there's I don't know. I like when players take accountability for a mistake. I think Lane takes it too hard on himself, because if you're balancing what he does positively versus what might go wrong once in a while, it's an unequal equation. The kid's a tremendous player. I think what we're seeing, though, the first game is it was either going to go one of two ways, right? Carolina scored 20 seconds in or whatever it was, and they're so fired up they're going to run Montreal out of the building, or they're going to be rusty and Montreal's going to be sharper, and that's what happened. And Montreal deserved clearly to win game 1. Carolina's pace will get to you as a series goes on. It's like a football team with a great running game. And they just run it over and over and over. And eventually they push you into mistake. There's a great clip of Paul Maurice. I don't know why he ever lets himself get mic'd up, but but it is great stuff. And he's yelling at his bench. They're playing Boston. And he's like, you guys, you get the lead, and now you all want to make plays. F the plays. Put it behind their D and pound their D, because in game 7, they won't be able to make a play. That is the Carolina blueprint. And you can talk about, they get running around in their zone a little bit. They don't really. They just pressure the hell out of the puck, and sometimes they don't get there. Their defense, I know a lot of people will say, they get 38 shots. Don't worry about that. They're not really dangerous ones. Their zone time and their shots is a proxy for their defense. They defend by getting the puck, shooting it, getting it again, and shooting it, because they're never down in their end. And somewhere, what Montreal's going to have to do is Lane Hutson, among many, but you have to find just that half second to make the play, and then you got to make it. And it's way easier said than done, because you're under duress all the time. But that's the only way you can break Carolina down, is if you make the first pass, now you can put them on your heels. But oftentimes they don't give you the time to do it.
No. How about Rod Brind'Amour post game? I mean, he's so dialed in as you would expect. I mean, he always has been as a player and as a very successful NHL coach. He wasn't sure who scored the overtime winner because it didn't matter to him. I mean, it could have been Aho. He was parked right in front of Jakub Dobeš, so it could have hit Aho. He could clearly see it was Svechnikov who took the shot, but he was like, yeah, I don't care. I don't know. All that matters to me is that the puck went in the net and we won the hockey game. Now let's get on to the next one. Like, we often talk about Brind'Amour from a media perspective and how, his personality really is the identity of how that team plays. But I think that that's kind of exemplified in that one soundbite post game where he's just, yeah. I mean, I don't really care who scored. We did. On to the next game. I mean, that's how simple it is, isn't it, for him?
For around I can't think of another coach that is more of the fabric of their team than Rod is in Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, look, John Cooper's been in Tampa for 11 or 12 years, and if we were to overlook their style of play into Cooper, we would be making a grand mistake. But there's something different about the Hurricanes and Brind'Amour. If they put his face on there instead of the logo, it would be the same thing. like he's and the fact that he doesn't know who scored is so I don't know, it's just so perfect. But if you look at that coach, everything in Carolina is the same year after year. Coaching staff stays the same.
Yeah.
Nobody gets added, nobody leaves. They play the same way. They added Nick Ehlers, which I think is a real difference to their lineup.
Yeah.
They're a bloody good team. They're one of the best teams in the league in the regular season. And now they've wrestled back home ice. And clearly the whole series is gonna sit on game 4. And somewhere along the line, the 14 games that Montreal already played, now they've played 3 more. They've played 17. Those 6 extra games that they've played, that matters. Guys have absorbed. I don't know. Let's use Nick Suzuki. How many times do you think he's got hit more in those 6 games? Maybe 3-4 times a game. So that's 25 times, right?
Yeah.
And it wears cumulatively on the players. And I think Montreal's hanging in there and doing a hell of a job, but they're going to need to find just another gear. And can they do it? We'll see in game 4.
You kind of touched on it, but before we shift over to the Western Conference Final, where you're focused, if you're Marty St. Louis, what is your messaging? What are you spooling up video-wise? What is the one thing that you're trying to get your group to focus on going into the next one?
Well, I think I would start by saying, look, the series is 2-1. Somebody was going to be ahead 2-1 in this series, right? Big deal. It's not, series isn't gone. It's just 2-1. Once I make that point, I would look and say, the only thing that matters for us is clearing our zone. And we prefer to clear with the puck in possession. And so where are the soft spots? Where can we move the puck? Can you find it on video? And then can you show that video where the guys can recognize it? And the second part of that is, if we're not 100% sure or 90% sure on that pass, shoot it off the clock. Just get it out to center ice and then get up on the blue line and try and defend up there. Because if you play way on your heels against Carolina, I think eventually it's like a boxer. They just body blow you to death. And then eventually they land a knockout punch. That, to me, the exits against Carolina are everything.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Okay, let's go to the Western Conference Final. You're in Vegas for the Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. It's game 4 as we record this episode of the Rain Dregs podcast on Tuesday morning. I mean, does it feel to you like Colorado has
disaster?
Yeah,
disaster. It's a disaster.
Yeah. Is there enough push there? Is there enough left?
Well, I can't imagine they won't play as hard as they can tonight.
Yeah.
Whatever Nate MacKinnon's going to have is going to be less than 100%, right? In the 2.5 games he played before he blocked Shea Theodore's shot, he hadn't got much accomplished in the series. Marty Necas has got 1 goal in the playoffs. He's been a ghost. Brock Nelson's got 2 goals in the playoffs. He hasn't done anything in this series. Lekkonen's clearly hurt. He's not even close to what you would normally see with Lehkonen. Kadri scored the last game, but he's more of a support guy now at this. He's 35 years old, right? Makar's played 1 game. I thought he was pretty good, but he bobbled 6 or 7 pucks that he normally doesn't. Each game they've been out goaltended by a little bit. I would suspect Mackenzie Black would play game 4. I just don't see where the big turnaround comes from. Vegas looks like a bloody machine right now. They are, in game 1 they got goal, like they got a power play goal, they got an empty net goal from Jim Dowd. Howden scored off a rebound. So that, like, they got goals from kind of around their lineup. Game 2, their top line totally took over. Eichel, Barbashev, Dorofeyev. They totally took the game over. They outplayed Colorado's top guys. Game 3, we make all this noise, as we should, about Cale Makar coming back, and then we make a little noise about Mark Stone. And Mark Stone scores a power play goal to ignite the comeback. He makes a really sweet little touch pass on the hurdle goal. William Karlsson scores. Marner continues to be fabulous in these playoffs. I don't see where's the crack? Where's the crack in the armor? I don't see it. And here's one other thing, like in against their first series to Utah, Hart was an .898. He was .922 against Anaheim. He's .946 in this series. He gave up 3 goals in the first period the other day, then stops 19 straight shots. So even when Colorado gets there, Vegas has had the answer. I'm stunned, honestly, that the series is in this place. But like, as I said earlier, Vegas has been machine-like. I do have to. I'm going to give one little behind the curtains thing about John Tortorella. And to be biased or to be clear, like, he's I just think the guy's a tremendous person. He really is. I wish he would not do general media at all, because it is a train wreck. The other day he walks in, somebody says, "Is Mark Stone playing?" Yes. That set off, I think the word total was 11, and the length of the presser was 57 seconds. So then we go back into the rights holders. So it's a small group of the Sportsnet broadcasters, us. Phenomenal. So I think you shouldn't do the main one, or just come out with a script, read what you want to say, and then leave. But my point is, he's not what he appears to be, except when he is. And I wish he wouldn't do that, because he is he might come off like, just work hard and all this stuff, but he's smart. He's way more detailed than you might think. And when he's in the right spot, he'll give a really detailed answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it brings me to another kind of thought here. And there's a volume of issues that every top contending team has to face in the offseason. And Vegas does it better than most, if not all, year by year by year. So once again, Cale Makar is going to face cap challenges, right? I mean, Dorofeyev is he's going to get paid. And there's whispers of offer sheets floating around. And I kind of chuckle at that, only because I'm like, we've watched McCrimmon and McPhee manage this team masterfully, creatively, year after year after year. Do we honestly think that they're not prepared in some way, shape, or form for somebody to try and hijack Dorofeyev. No, I mean, they'll have the conversations well in advance with the agent. What's it going to look like? They'll make tough decisions. Is it Aiden Hill that's going out the door? Is this guy like, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I chuckle when I hear that stuff. It doesn't compute to me, because these guys are playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers in a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, but the media is always going to be behind. So last year, when Dorofeyev becomes a 30-goal scorer, and this year in the midst of a 37-goal season, do you think somebody in the Vegas front office said, oh, hey, wait a minute, Dorofeyev's contract's up at the end of the year, we better do something? Do you think they just noticed? Even though the media would have picked up on this, of course they would pick up on it late, because everybody's covering something else. And then you start to look at it and you're like, oh boy, he's an offer sheet candidate. I can't believe there's any scenario that would get Dorofeyev to July 1st. I just don't see it, because the steps that they're already talking about, or the steps that they need to be talking about, they already are. I'll give you a great example. I was covering for TSN the pre and post of the Anaheim Jersey final. I always remember this. It's in 2004. It's game 6, and I'm standing with one of the guys I know from Anaheim's management. And he said, you know what sucks? He says, I'm looking down on the ice there, and there's 6 of those guys that aren't going to be here next year. Point being, the decisions had been made.
Yeah.
And those guys won game 6. They went to Jersey. They could have won game 7. They didn't. But still, 6 of those guys were out the door. So as much as we think everything gets done like in the last minute, the preparation is ongoing. I got to say this about Vegas. They never frickin' give up. Because at the deadline, when it looked like are they going to make the playoffs? Where are they going to finish? They go out and get Cole Smith and Nick Dowd. Like, they identified on their team, our top guys need to play. And once they start to play, we have to assume they will, then we're gonna make sure our roster's ready to play. Now, hell, it still took a coach firing. It took Carter Hart to get healthy and to become the goalie they envisioned him being. But they never give in. They just never, ever give in. And here they are, they're one win away from another final. And as much as they like to wear the black hat and people put the black hat on them, you 100% should respect the way they put this thing together, because it's crazy impressive.
And look, I mean, problems are easier to deal with when you're a Stanley Cup champion again, right? I mean, that's just what the offseason is comprised of. What do you do with the coaching? You know, you've got John Tortorella, who's under contract until the end of the year. If they win a Stanley Cup, I mean, you know, it makes sense they would extend his time. But then I think of, you know, because there are coaching vacancies, we're not going to dive into each market. But I know that there's high regard, as there should be, for Ryan Craig and the work that he's doing and has done in the American League within the Golden Knights organization. So when is he ready? If he's not quite ready, okay, maybe it's another year. Do you let him go if somebody seeks permission? Well, we've already seen what they do with coaches on that front. But it does kind of feel like Torts has earned a longer look with the Vegas Golden Knights, especially if they win.
Well, it would be incredibly strange if he comes in with 9 games left. Right now they're 18-4-1.
Yeah.
And let's assume they win this series and get to the final, and then you hire somebody else. But so, yeah, Ryan Craig was on the staff in Vegas, and he stepped back into the American League to take a bench, to be their head coach. So not only is he, you know, a younger guy running a bench for the first time at the professional level, but he's doing it 10 miles away from Vegas. So the Vegas Golden Knights offices are in the building or close to where they play. So any discussions that they're having all would be forward thinking with the way they've set this up. At some point, Ryan Craig, from what I understand, will likely be the head coach here, whether it's now, in 2 years, a year. I mean, how would I know that? Or how would we know that? But it's a good problem to have. It really is. And so if Ryan Craig is the coach, then John Torts has told me and everybody, I think, that he still wants to coach. And he wants to coach. And so if it's not here, is it somewhere else? It's the coaching carousel will start to spin pretty quickly here. And some of it has to do, of course, that you got to get through this last series and a half.
Yeah. All right, last one, and we'll just stay on that theme. And I don't like predicting doom and gloom. I mean, my job as an insider literally is to dispense information, get it right, be factual. There is an anticipation that change will come in Colorado in some form. Look, I mean, Jared Bednar is a highly successful coach, so I'm not suggesting that his job is on the line. But when you see some of the speculation around Chris MacFarland and the potential that maybe Nashville is waiting for him, right? Maybe it is time. Maybe there is a scenario whereby ownership of the Avalanche go, well, it's worked here for a long time. We've got a really good management dynamic. Jared Bednar is a decorated, successful NHL head coach, but every once in a while, change for change is a good thing. Should we, in your opinion, expect anything significant, or is it probably more likely that they just recognize everything I've said and try and maintain status quo?
Well, the MacFarland thing is maybe gets a little more quietly talked about because coaches are more in the forefront. But if he leaves, you're looking at a new manager. And would the new manager have the authority, or would he want to make a change? I remember a couple years ago, there was some speculation around John Cooper. Would he come back to Tampa? Because basically what these guys have done, they've raised their own floor to an almost unsustainable place. Like, when you talk about what is a successful year in Colorado, they're in the conference final again.
It's pretty good.
Right? Like, they've had a couple of first-round blips while they went and fixed their goaltending. Or they improved their goaltending.
Yeah.
They have 121 points. Like, what more are you looking for? But maybe, and I thought this with Cooper as well, maybe the manager would say, I just want to freshen the voice. And there would be, you would only do that if you have somebody in your pocket that you think is can at least sustain the bar where they're at. And I mean, how many coaches are in that field? Are they in the NHL? Are they out of the NHL? I'll tell you one thing: if Jared Bednar is available, he's at the very top of my list.
Nice.
I would. I think the head of the pin that Bednar and Bruce Cassidy are standing on is a hell of a lot different than anyone else that you might be able to talk about experience-wise and success-wise.
Yeah. Well, contractually, I think Bednar has one more year left on his deal in Colorado, right? So you're not just blowing it up entirely. There is that side of it that might make some sense, but we're not firing anybody at this point yet. Maybe there is plenty more hockey for the Colorado Avalanche ahead. All right, those are your headlines, right? Brought to us by the Canadian Brew House.
It feels like Tim Hortons has always been part of my routine, certainly as a dad, as a coach, or taking my kids to the early morning hockeys. Had to go through the drive-thru and get my cup of coffee and get the Timbits for the kids. Can I get a medium coffee with milk, please? Then even driving into studio now at TSN, if I don't go through the drive-thru, get my medium coffee with milk, I feel like my routine has been interrupted.
And here's your coffee.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
You too. Only way to start a day.
Let's shift over to the Tim's Hockey Challenge, where Chris Sabunia has been waiting anxiously. You know, Zuby and I aren't that far apart. Zuby was kind enough because I pulled a Ray Ferraro. Upon arrival in Kelowna, I forgot my microphone. There it is. So Zuby hand-delivered this this road microphone to the hotel here in Kelowna to help me out and get me set. So there he is. How you doing,
It's
Zuby?
a beauty too, doing a heck of a job. And yeah, it was just sitting here. It was originally a Ray Ferraro. I might have even brought that one when I saw you in Vancouver, Ray. I might have even brought that one because that was supposed to be. It's very compact. It's a nice little mic. So that was supposed to be part of Ray's travel package, and it just didn't work out because he's going through the phone. You're on the laptop,
and we couldn't get it to work, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, we could not. So,
but we got her there. But here's the here's the one thing though. We need to discuss Zuby's extra effort and the potential bonus that you're going to pay him.
Yeah. Well, I did offer to have the equipment couriered from Zuby's house because Zuby's he's a ways away from downtown Kelowna. But Zuby, correct, you were here downtown visiting friends, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
so
you're on another show, Struddy's World. If we can cross promote, you need it for Struddy's World tomorrow as well. So at least that we'll figure something out. Maybe I'll be able
Zuby,
to snag it back.
Well, I could only say if it were me, I'd buy you and your family dinner, but that's just me.
Oh, sure you would. Coming from anyone else, it would be believable. What do the numbers look like, Zub?
Yeah, all right. Let's get to the Tim's Hockey Challenge. So, Ray making a move this week. He had 2 in these last few games, so that moves Ray up to 5, and that's a tie with Dregs. Now you guys have 5 each. I've still got a little cushion of 3 here, so my total is 8. I'm in first place. Dregs and Ray in second place, 5. We do still check on Rashog, but he's still he's an over at the.
Why?
We're in the middle of the conference finals, and Shager hasn't got one yet. So
I don't even know if that's possible. Like, I mean, you don't have to try. Just pick 3 names. How is it possible?
Yeah, he could get his kids or his cat or somebody to come up with something, and but it hasn't happened.
I'm going to share my third bucket strategy now. I look for guys that might score in the empty net.
It's not because
that third bucket is not. It's a pretty low scoring bucket, and I'm like, maybe like I got a Nick Dowd empty netter earlier. Who else did we get, Zuby? We had Brock maybe
Nelson.
It was a Nichushkin. Was it Nelson or Nichushkin? An empty netter with like 1 second left.
Yeah,
and we were Zuby and I were cheering away.
Yeah.
So I've done the same thing. I'm taking your advice, right? I did the exact same thing. I looked down this morning as I'm submitting. I'm like, Nick Dowd. Yep, that smells like an empty netter to seal this baby. So,
all right, I got Noah Hannafin in that.
I'm looking
bucket. He'd be out there too.
Oh,
Noah Hannafin is a good call.
Good thinking. And you know what? He doesn't have a goal in the playoffs. This is the Zuby magic, though.
Oh.
I'm concerned about that pick. I gotta say.
Yeah, you guys, if you've already made your picks, then you're locked in. There's no changing it now.
Yeah, they've been submitted. I'm in trouble here.
Nope, we're in.
Well, keep playing. It's one game a night. The picks are limited, but it is a real challenge right now, fellas.
All right, Zuby. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's Chris Sabunia in the Tim's Hockey Challenge. We're running on a runway. Let's just be honest here, Ray. Like, I mean, okay, you and I neck and neck. I can appreciate that, but Zub is. It's not quite a stranglehold, but it's approaching that. We need to get some work done in this Game 4 Western Conference Final.
Well, the the last week when he got the 2 in the one game, that felt like he got 100. It was like that didn't feel good for the battle, that's for sure.
No. Before we let you go, good off day. You said you spent some time with Sean McKenzie. Was the sheriff around? Was Shane Knighty around?
Yep.
A little time with Shane?
No, Shane had the family barbecue Memorial Day in the States. He had the grandson over, and so they were grilling up a storm yesterday at the 90s, and so we went out and played. And thanks to Gary Lawless, by the way.
Oh, nice.
The lawman, if you need to know somebody in Vegas, Gary's probably met them. And so he was very kind enough to get us set up. And so we played, and now game 4 today, and then I'm flying somewhere tomorrow. I'm either flying home or I'm flying back to Denver.
Okay.
We will see.
Right. All right, buddy. Well, either way, have a good call, which I know you will. We'll be watching. I'll be continuing to do my thing here in Kelowna at the Memorial Cup, and we'll reconnect later in the week.
Awesome. Enjoy Kelowna and say hi to the boys and out there, Bob and Jeff and those guys, and we'll talk soon. Everybody, thanks for listening. Talk to you later in the week.
Yes, and thank you to our sponsors who continue to support the Raindrakes Hockey Podcast. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, thank you, and thank you to the Canadian Brew House. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.